Ever notice how the exact microsecond someone says no to your face, your jaw tightens up? What is your brain actually trying to hide? That little 1 millisecond micro flinch, yeah, that tiny jolt you just felt, is not random at all. It's like a psychological rubber band that snaps back and drags your real, true self out into the open, right at the exact moment your social mask slips off. Why does hearing one simple 2-letter word make you feel like you missed a stair and you're falling down? If you're someone who gets instantly defensive the second you hear no, or you literally feel an aggressive anger flare up in your chest, does that mean you're broken inside? Or is it the complete opposite? Do you shrink all the way into yourself and totally shut down? And here's the most important thing. Which one of these reactions actually predicts the success of your future relationships? Is it normal to feel physical pain when you get rejected? fMRI scans have shown that social rejection activates the exact same neural pathways in our brain that fire up during physical pain. But here's the most disturbing part. Taking one Tylenol, a basic painkiller, actually reduces the emotional pain of a breakup, which means your brain literally cannot tell the difference between a broken heart and a broken arm. So if your brain treats a no like a direct physical attack, how is your subconscious mind trying to protect you? Today, we're breaking down the exact meaning behind this reflex of yours. Think of it like a diagnostic test, except there's no doctor here, just you and a rubber band. Every time you hear no, that rubber band stretches. The question is, how does yours snap? Let's look at the first reaction type, the aggressive flinch. You asked your boss for a raise, or you asked someone out on a date and they said no. Instantly, you burned with anger. Your jaw went rock hard. Both of your hands curled into fists without you even realizing it. It feels like somebody just attacked you, bro, right? You're probably thinking you're just passionate or highly driven. Why do people who show this reaction so often end up completely lonely? According to research published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior, an aggressive physical reaction under stress actually points to a hyperactive defensive mechanism. But here's the disturbing part. This reaction often masks a deep fear of inadequacy sitting inside you, which means your anger is really just a makeshift shield for your insecurity. So if anger is just a shield, what happens when we take the shield away? Does the rubber band tear apart? Look, the aggressive externalizer is not actually fighting the person who said no. They're fighting the feeling of being out of control. When you hear no, your brain thinks you've lost your agency, your control. This aggressive flinch of yours is a desperate attempt to grab the steering wheel back. Why do angry people push everyone else away when what they actually need is help? People who cope aggressively end up totally isolated from their support network, which raises their social isolation over time by 40%. But here's the disturbing part. Deep down, they're hoping someone will break through their wall of anger and come inside, just to prove that they're not someone worth leaving. And research hints that this cuts their social support down by a lot. But what if you don't get angry? What if you just vanish? That brings us to reaction 2. The internalizer flinch. Instead of getting angry, you go completely quiet. You physically shrink yourself down. Maybe you cross your arms or stare at the ground. You agree way too quickly. "Oh, no problem, totally makes sense," you say out loud, but inside you're crumbling. Why do we do this? Why do introverts feel such intense psychological distress when expectations don't get met? A study comparing offline and online behavior highlights that people who shrink away actually internalize the distress. They believe they themselves are the main reason for the rejection. But here's the disturbing part. Internalizing that no actually rewires your brain so that in the future you expect even more rejection, meaning you assume ahead of time that you're going to lose, and that's exactly what comes true. The internalizer takes the rubber band and wraps it around their own neck. You hear no and instantly translate it as, I am not good enough. You don't fight back because you figure the other person is probably right. It's literally exhausting. It completely drains your battery. You go home and replay that moment in your head 100 times. But is this permanent? Are you going to stay shrunken like this for the rest of your life? I used to think our reactions were hardwired. If you're a shrinker, you'll always be a shrinker. But the story doesn't end here. There's a third way the rubber band snaps. Reaction 3. The rationalizer. You heard no. You didn't yell, you didn't cry, you just nodded and immediately started analyzing. Well, statistically speaking, they probably said no because of budget or timing. Is that healthy? Or is it actually just another escape route to run from the pain? What's the real psychological cost of constantly suppressing your emotional response with logic? When people over-intellectualize rejection, they often delay the emotional processing. Studies show that constant emotional suppression leads to burnout over time. But here's the disturbing part. Because they never let themselves feel the real sting of no, the rationalizer never learns how to build a deep connection with other people at a vulnerable level. The rationalizer pulls the rubber band back, but instead of ever letting it snap, they just hold it right there, stretched tight, for their entire life. It might look like the most mature response, but it's actually the most isolating one. You turn into a robot. Honestly, a little anger or a little shutting down isn't always bad, because sometimes that flinch is exactly what saves you. The question is, when you stop. So which one are you? Fighter, shrinker, or robot? Wait, is there even a perfect way to handle no? You might think the goal is to feel nothing at all, to become totally bulletproof. If you stop caring, then no can't hurt you anymore, right? False. That's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. If you feel nothing, you're not bulletproof. You're just numb. And numb people never grow. The rubber band is supposed to snap. It's supposed to sting a little. That sting is information. But if the sting is just data, why do we let it define our self-worth? This is where the concept of the malleable self comes in. Opposite to popular belief, your personality does not get carved into stone at age 30. It's recently been discovered that your personality is actually pretty malleable, pretty flexible. According to one study on personality, over time there's roughly a 25% chance of your personality traits changing. That's massive. It means your rubber band can be upgraded too. And this fear is not your fault. The culture that taught us from childhood that no means failure, that's the real villain. How exactly do you change a subconscious reflex that happens in 1 millisecond? It starts with awareness. Next time you hear no, I want you to freeze. Don't fight. Don't shrink. Don't analyze. Just observe the flinch. Feel the rubber band stretch. When you realize that no is only a word and your reaction is just a habit, that's when you get your power back. Can you really change your personality just by changing a habit? Yes, behavioral psychology shows that when you adopt a new habit, it forces neuroplasticity, which literally rewrites your default responses. But here's the disturbing part. If you don't intentionally choose your habits, your environment will program your personality for you, and you'll end up completely at the mercy of other people. But let's go even deeper. Let's look at which daily habits are reinforcing these reactions. Did you know your clothing preferences can reveal how you'll handle rejection? A study from Manchester University found that people who prefer wearing casual-style clothes have less of a conforming attitude. They value freedom. So when they hear no, they might see it as a restriction on their freedom, which triggers the aggressive flinch. And what about your daily housework? People who score high on the agreeableness scale spend more time on domestic chores and are highly motivated to keep others happy. These are our classic internalizers. When they hear no, they feel like they failed their main mission of making other people happy. Even your walking style. People with extroverted personalities walk with confidence, while introverts take slower, softer steps. Before rejection even happens, your physical posture is already priming your brain for how to react. It's all connected. The rubber band isn't just in your brain, it's in your posture, your clothes, your routine. So if you change your walking style, can you also change the way you handle no? Yes. Physical priming can actually alter your psychological resilience. So what happens when we stop seeing no as an injury and start seeing it as a detour? The most successful people in the world hear no more than anyone else. The difference is in their rubber band. It snaps, it stings, and then it resets. They don't take it as a permanent red flag on their identity. You can rewire this. You can build a brand new reflex. Start small. Go outside and intentionally collect a no. Ask for a discount at the coffee shop. Ask for something you already know you're not going to get. Condition your brain to survive that flinch. Because here's the truth. The person who's most afraid of hearing no will never even ask for the yes that could have changed their life. Drop it in the comments below. Are you a fighter, a shrinker, or a robot? And go ahead and argue for why your type is the best one. But the video doesn't end here. Thinking you've got it all figured out now so you're bulletproof? The real game is just getting started. What's the actual consequence of not fixing this reflex over time? People who never learn to process rejection constructively make their lives smaller and smaller, avoiding any risk that could trigger pain. But here's the disturbing part. By insulating yourself from rejection, you're also insulating yourself from deep love, massive success, and genuine connection. In plain words, to avoid a little discomfort, you're choosing a slow, quiet death for your potential. It's a tragic trade-off. Picture a life where no is just data, not an indictment of your soul. No physical blow, just information. No, you're not getting this job. Okay, the data says I need to pivot my strategy. No, I don't want to go on a date with you. Okay, the data says we're not a match. The rubber band stretches, delivers the data, and resets. No lingering sting. No self-destruction. That's the ultimate superpower of the modern world. We're getting hit with micro-rejections on social media all day long. A post gets no likes. A message gets seen and left there. If your rubber band is brittle, modern life will snap it. You'll spend your entire life living in a low-level trauma state. But if your rubber band is flexible, you become unstoppable. You start taking bigger risks. You start asking for outrageous things because the worst that can happen is a no, and a no is just data. Is rejection therapy actually effective? Exposure therapy aimed at social rejection lowers the anxiety response by almost 60%. But here's the disturbing part. If you do the therapy without changing your internal narrative, you're just traumatizing yourself over and over for no reason. And research hints that this cuts their social support down by a lot. So how do we build this flexibility? It takes deliberate practice. Next time you face rejection, I'm challenging you to say your internal reaction out loud. I'm feeling angry right now because I feel like I lost control. I'm feeling small right now because I feel like I wasn't enough. Call the demon by its name, and its power is gone. When you say the subconscious reflex out loud, it becomes conscious. And once it's conscious, you can change it. Sounds simple, but it's incredibly difficult. Your ego is going to want to protect you. It's going to want to blame the other person. They're just a jerk. They have no idea what they're talking about. Let the ego go. Embrace the data. Let's look at one more psychological factor: The way you write. Remember the handwriting study? If you write with a vertical, straight-up slant, you can control your emotions easily. If you write with an extreme left slant, you want permanent control and your self-esteem is low. Your handwriting, your walk, your clothes, your housework, they're all telling the same story. All of them are exposing your personality type, and all of them influence how your rubber band is going to snap. You're one holistic system. You can't change your mindset without changing your habits. If you want to handle rejection even better, start by changing how you walk. Walk with more confidence. Change how you write. Practice a more open, fluid slant. Change your physical state to change your psychological state. This isn't some cheap self-help fluff. It's pure neuroscience. So I'm asking you again, when the rubber band snaps, who do you become? Are you ready to stop letting a two-letter word dictate your self-worth? Are you ready to turn every no from a stumbling block into a stepping stone? The choice is yours. The data is waiting. Sit with the idea of a self-imposed prison for a second, a jail you built yourself. When you build walls to keep no out, you accidentally build a cage that keeps you in. You stop raising your hand in meetings. You stop pitching wild ideas. You swipe left on the person you actually like because you assume they'd swipe left on you too. You're rejecting yourself before the world even gets the chance to. Is that really living? Why do we reject ourselves ahead of time just to dodge the pain that comes from other people? Psychologists call this rejection sensitivity dysphoria, where the anticipation of hearing no creates so much anxiety that you sabotage the entire opportunity. But here's the disturbing part. Rejecting yourself in advance guarantees failure 100% of the time, which means your brain's defense mechanism is actually executing the exact outcome it was trying to prevent. Your brain is playing a trick on you. It thinks guaranteed failure on your own terms is safer than possible failure on someone else's terms. But failure is failure. The only way to break this cycle is to jump straight into the discomfort. You have to invite no in. You have to court it. Turn it into a game. Aim for 10 no's a week. Once you become desensitized to the word, it loses its power. The rubber band becomes resilient. You'll realize a no very rarely kills you. It very rarely even leaves a mark. It's just a sound wave hitting your eardrum. What meaning you attach to that sound wave is completely up to you. You are the architect of your own reality. You are no longer the victim of your subconscious programming. You are the programmer, and a programmer can always rewrite the code. But here's the biggest question, the one that changes everything. Are people who never face rejection in life actually happier, or are they just locked inside a prison of mediocrity they built themselves?